Alright folks, this is just going to be a really quick video where I'm going to be showing you how we are going to go about making some masthead designs for your magazines, which is what you're going to start working on today and is what you're going to be working on over the half-term holidays as well. So with these mastheads that you're going to be making, it's really important that there's two things that you consider when you're making these mastheads. And the first one is you need to make sure that the type of font you're using for your masthead is the kind of thing that is going to be conventional for the kind of magazine it is you're making. So let's say, for example, you want to make a fashion magazine. You're not going to use a font like this for your masthead because it's not going to work. So you've got to make sure that it is conventional and that it looks like the thing it is meant to look like. But what you also want to do is you want to show that you have demonstrated some technical capabilities in making these mastheads. So to put it in a very informal way, I'd like them to look cool. I'd like them to look decent. I'd like them to look a little bit, creative in what you make. So in this video, I'm just going to show you a couple of little techniques that you can do for, well, first of all, I'm going to show you how to get fonts onto your masthead designs, because the fonts that we're going to use on Photopea or Photoshop are a bit boring. I'm going to show you how you can use fonts from another website, but I'm also going to show you a couple of the common ways that you can edit your mastheads to make them look a little bit different. Some of the common techniques that people do often use. If I don't go through any specific techniques that you would like to do, so say you have it in your head of what sort of thing you want to do and you don't know how to do it, just give me a shout and I'll go through it, alright? But what I'm going to show you today is the most common things that people tend to do when they're making their mastheads, alright? So the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out how are we going to get our fonts on here, because obviously we've got that font here, which is the website that we use to get our fonts. We've got all these fonts on here. We need to know how to get them from here on to here. Now the way I'm going to show you is not the proper way of doing it, but it's the way that's probably going to be quickest. So I'm just going to choose a font that I like. So I'm just going to go with basic sans serif. I'm going to go with lemon milk because I like that font. It's a good sort of jack of all trades kind of font. I'm going to type in the name of my magazine here, which I'm going to call Vogue, and maybe get some sort of copyright laws put on me for that, but it's just practice. So this, when I do this as well, I'm going to make sure that I've got the large option chosen and I press submit, because otherwise if you go medium it's going to be a bit small, so when you resize it, it might get a little bit pixelated. So I'm going to go for large and press submit. Now what I want to do is I want to get this onto my Photopea canvas. So I'm going to use the snipping tool, which is this tool here, which if you're using a Windows computer you should all have. If you're using a Mac, then let me know and I'll tell you how to do it on a Mac, but I think most people are probably using Windows. If this isn't down here, you can search for it here and just type in the snipping tool and it comes up there. Alright, looks like this. And I'm going to click new and I'm going to draw around my Vogue masthead there. Alright, nice and simple. Edit, copy, and then go to Photopea, edit and paste, or you can press Ctrl and V. So there is my masthead. So the first thing obviously what I'll do is make it a little bit bigger. So transform controls, hold shift, drag from the corner. I'm going to stretch it right to the end just because that way it's going to be nice and clear and in focus. So here's my first masthead. Now obviously on its own that's a little bit dull, a little bit boring. So what we want to do is play around with it and see what we can do to make it look better. If I hide my background layer though, you'll see the problem we've got is we've got this white background here, okay, which we don't want. And the reason why we've got that on there is because we have basically just copied all of this here. So we've got that white background that we want to get rid of. So to get rid of that, you're going to go to your your fourth option down on your toolbar. You're going to click and hold and go to the magic wand. And the magic wand, you're going to click on the white section of the object and press delete. And you can see it's got rid of it all. Okay, what this tool does is if I click on any colour, it's going to highlight all of that colour. So because I clicked on the white bit, it highlighted all of the white bit that was touching it, and I could just delete it. It doesn't get rid of the bits from inside vowels or other letters, for example. So again, I need to click on the white bit and press delete. Okay. Now I've still got these little, these are called marching ants. I've still got these around my selection, which I don't want anymore. So to get rid of that, I'm just going to press Control and D for deselect, and then it's gone. So now you'll notice that the only thing I have, apart from that little bit there, let's just get rid of that bit around the outside. Done. You should now only have the word Vogue. There's no white background. Okay, it's just that font. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is what's called a clipping mask. And a lot of people use this if they want to put another picture inside this picture. Alright, so I'm just going to go to Google and search for a random background texture. So let's just go for a, I don't know, wood texture. I'm going to find a picture of some wood. That'll do, why not? So to practice, copy that, oops, and then paste that onto here. Let's make it a bit bigger. Oh, see, I'm not used to using Photopea yet, but I'll get used to it. So let's make it a bit bigger. Right, so let's say that I want, rather than have this as just black, I want to get this wood texture inside there. Don't know why you would, but you know, why not? Then what you can use is you can use something called a clipping mask. Now what a clipping mask does is that is Photoshop telling you that you want to put one layer inside one other layer. So what I want to do is I want to put this wood layer here inside this layer here. So what I need to do is, first of all, I need to make sure that my object, so my wood texture, is bigger than the layer that is underneath it. So it is there that this texture is now covering Vogue completely. Alright. You also want to make sure that the layer, this is where it gets confusing, the layer that you want to go on the inside is on top. So the layer of the wood texture is on top of the Vogue texture there. And then all you're going to do is right click on the layer and go to clipping mask, and what should happen is that should be us telling Photoshop, or Photopea in this case, that we want to put this layer inside whatever is underneath it. So I'm going to right click and go to clipping mask, and there you go. You'll see now that we've got that nice little wood effect on the inside of the word Vogue. We can still move these things around. Alright, I can move the word Vogue around as well, and you can see that it moves with it as well. So that's one little effect that you can do, nice and simple. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for mastheads, particular, unless you're deliberately going for a certain style. But it's something that you can do. It only takes like 30 seconds. That's a clipping mask. Now I'm going to delete that because I don't want that. I don't think it was very good. What a lot of people also like to do is they want to be able to edit certain parts of a text. So say for example I'm looking at this and I think that I want to have the V in Vogue be bigger than the O, the G, the U and the E. What you can use is you can use either of these layers here, so lasso, polygonal lasso or the magnetic lasso, to select parts of the image. So I'm going to go for the polygonal lasso just because it's the one I think is the easiest. And then what I can do is I can draw around the O, the G, the U and the E in Vogue. Now, if I do any editing to this now, it's only going to happen to the bits inside what I've selected. So if I want to make this a bit smaller, I can click on transform controls and you'll see now, even though I've got the Vogue layer selected, I can adjust the size of that and make it a bit smaller, so there's a bit more of an emphasis on the V, so it looks a bit cooler, it looks a bit nicer, you know, it still looks a bit, there we go, and now it adds it back together again. So there's a couple of things that you can do to make these things look a bit cool. Alright, now what I don't want with these masks, I don't want them to be just boring text, okay, unless you're deliberately going for that thing. So try and do something a bit more creative, even if it's something as simple as that. You know, it might be that you want to do something like, you want to put like a line underneath it, or something, maybe not red because that looks awful, but maybe like a black line like that underneath it. Alright, something like that, just to give it a bit more, I don't know, pizzazz or something. Alright, something like that, I don't know. Anyway, have a play around, see what you can do. Because I want these mastheads to look good, I want them to look creative, I want them to look stylish. Alright, but also they need to look like the thing they are meant to look like. Alright, so have a play around with it, see what you can do. And if there's something that you want to try and do that you are not sure how to do yourself, let me know, give me a shout, and we'll have a look and see what we can do. But the most important thing is to make sure that the fonts you have chosen are suitable. You know, if you're doing a fashion magazine, you're not going to use something like this. Alright, you're not going to use the Transformers font. I'd rather you not do that anyway. Or you're not going to use something like, I don't know, the digital calculator font for a fashion magazine. Okay, or you're not going to use a medieval font for a sport and football magazine. So the actual fonts that you choose is very, very important, okay? But those are sort of two basic little things that you could do to play around with your masthead on Photoshop. For me, the most important one is using the polygon or using the selection tool to select certain parts of the masthead and then doing some creative things with those. Okay, so maybe I want to put, I don't know, maybe I could change the colour a bit or something, or add a gradient maybe for this bit. But either way, have a play around, see what you can do, and then we'll try and do some nice, stylish, creative designs, okay?